Thomas. Rich Thomas is the former mayor of Mount Vernon. And now, what happened here with Rich Thomas on 1460 WVOX?
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to WVOX, a Whitney Global Media station. Today, you're listening to What Happened Here, and we're here every Wednesday from noon until 1 p.m. on 1460 on your AM dial or worldwide on WVOX.com. Now, we're also streaming live on Facebook and Instagram at Rich W. Thomas. And we're streaming live on YouTube and Facebook at Mayor of Richard Thomas. And you can call into the show for the first segment and the last segment only today. We have a special guest and a special topic that's on the top of mind of all of us as Americans. It's Russian war on Ukraine. Our special guest today is Colonel Francois. He's a retired Pentagon official. He has served in the military with great distinction. He was one of 7 African Americans selected in the 60s to come to the Pentagon and help develop the logistics around war planning. He was the chief and director of logistics for the Joint Chief of Staff, and he left military service in the 80s underneath President Reagan after designing for years transportation and logistics around war planning. He is someone with extreme wisdom and insight. You want to be a part of and listen to what he has to say about Russia's war on Ukraine, what it means for us here in the country, as well as what it means for Vladimir Putin, who has proven himself to be a much bigger problem for the world than people truly know. We get into a variety of topics. We're going to get into a variety of topics in the second half of the show, the second segment. The third segment, you're welcome to call in. The phone number is 914-636-0110. Again, that phone number is 914-636-0110. And we will take calls during the first segment and the last segment. And I promise you that Colonel Francois will come back most likely next week. I got to just confirm with his schedule. Next week, we were supposed to discuss the situation with the housing crisis. And we're going to have someone on that's an expert around lending, around credit, and credit repair, and what you can do to make sure that you get your personal finances straightened out. But given the situation and the crisis unfolding in Ukraine because of Russia, there are significant impacts on us locally that we need to know and we need to discuss. And I hope that you stay tuned and listen in for the conversation with Colonel Francois, as he is going to provide some wisdom. He's going to provide some insight, and I can only tell you that he is certainly going to unpack the issues so that we all can understand, what's truly at stake. We often hear people say freedom is not free. Well, the sacrifices that are made by our military to make sure that freedom continues to ring here within our shores is truly appreciated by me. And when you look at the situation that's going on in Ukraine, you can only see why that events that happen in Europe can threaten not only our security, but it can truly threaten our democracy and democracies around the world. And while there are competing views on what the impacts of the long-term sanctions are on Russia's economy, there are some short-term measures that appear to be in place and working to help propel a change of course by Russia. But however, the long-term issue is what's really the bigger picture is what we really have to look at. It's whether or not Putin will stay in power in Russia after and following what is going on. So our guest today that's going to unpack the issues related to Ukraine, what it means for us, how it impacts our fuel bills, how it impacts our light bills. We've seen our Con Edison bills completely out of control. I heard of one guy, he came back from vacation. His bill was, nearly $10,000. He couldn't understand why, and he wasn't even home. So there are lots of questions to be asked. I mean, maybe his bill was hacked by the Russian spy nest that was uncovered by the New York Post the other day and reposted and shared by local journalist Rue Ross, who wouldn't put some eyes on the building. But no, I'm just joking, everybody. But in all seriousness, the consequences of having this European conflict are reaching our shores in different ways today. And the impact is truly, truly, truly felt in our wallets, from rising energy prices to rising costs around basic goods at the grocery store. And when you listen to our guest, who's going to come up in the next segment, you will hear and see exactly why he was one of 7 African Americans selected in the 60s to join the Pentagon up from the Army. And he was elevated to command status and demonstrated his expertise in the Vietnam War in moving mountains of munitions and resources and through the terrain under impossible circumstances. And when he came back from Nam, helped build out the Joint Chiefs of Staff's logistics, war planning. A true expert, a true patriot, someone that has a firm grip of what needs to happen, and his vision and his plans help contribute to the fall of the Soviet Union. And this is one of the reasons why I love talking to and working with, our wise elders, because they know what is going on. And I can only assure you that when we have, an opportunity where you can talk with Colonel Francois, I think that you will be blown away by the amount of information, insight, and intelligence that he has and will unpack, and how his contributions have truly helped keep America free. So, with that, I definitely want to invite you to call in now or after the third segment. We'll take calls after we hear from Colonel Francois. The phone number is 914-636-0110. And just a quick word on last night's State of the Union address. I thought the president touched a significant number of highlights and issues where everybody can agree. And I do believe that if there's a time to work together, it is certainly now in the face of Russian aggression. It is certainly now to make sure that the agenda of defending America's freedom from what appears to be an escalating situation in Ukraine. The time is now, and what I can only encourage is that the president's speech hit on a few things that I believe will, pay some long-term dividends to heal some old wounds. One example was his mention of the toxins in the air on military bases around the world that come from burn pits. And that's an important issue because so many people have gotten ill and sick for many years, and it was denied, it was covered up, it was concealed, it was ignored, and these families suffered as a result of what they always knew, that the toxins in the air were not safe, and the military should have handled the burn pits far differently than they were, doing for such time. And what I can assure you is the president's recognition of the 9 cancers caused by the toxins from burn pits is a very important issue that relates to 9/11. But what I can tell you is hold that dial, don't change that dial. Stay tuned for Colonel Frank Francois on Ukraine and Russia's war on Ukraine when we come back from break.
This is WVOX.
I'm Susan Lee, and this is the Fox Business
You're
Report.
doing.
The market is trading
on
after
commercial
opening
break right
higher.
now.
Share Jerome Powell says it's
Just come out here.
how Russia's
Hello.
invasion of
Out.
Ukraine and
Studio.
sanctions interest rates at its meeting this month. Payroll processing company ADP says 475,000 new jobs were created by private employers last month, more than forecast. Ford is creating two divisions in its company, one for electric vehicles, the other for gas-powered engines. Ford shares are gaining. Fitbit is recalling approximately 1 million smart watches in the U.S. because the battery can overheat. Fitbit is owned by Google's parent company Alphabet. There are 78 reports of burn injuries. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola. Invested in you.
And now, an important message from Exergen. A critical new FDA study proves that the widely used non-contact thermometers are not accurate and have high probabilities for false negative readings. On top of that, they have inaccurate information on their labels regarding accuracy. New COVID strains are on the rise, and non-contact manufacturers are being irresponsible at a time when accuracy matters most. Accurate temperature measurements are essential. Don't wait. Switch to Exergen because they are accurate and backed by over 100 clinical studies. Be sure, be accurate with Exergen. Learn more at exergen.com.
Come fly with us every day on America's legendary community station, WVOX, for you and yours at 1460 on your AM dial, or streaming live right now at WVOX.com. Better yet, download the WVOX app and take us with you wherever you go.
Yeah, so this was pre-recorded with Colonel Francois, so y'all gonna have to listen while we talk it through, because he got pulled into an emergency meeting today.
And now, what happened here with Rich Thomas on 1460 WVOX?
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I'm Rich Thomas. You're listening to WVOX, your Whitney Global Media Station. You're listening to 1460 live on your AM dial. You're listening to What Happened Here. And today we're asking the question about what happened here with Ukraine. What is going on and what does it mean for the United States? And our special guest is Colonel Francois. He retired from the Army. He has accomplished so much in his career in protecting our country, and he served in the Pentagon under three-star General Arthur Gregg. Colonel Francois, thank you for joining us and making some time for us today. I hope to have you on in the next week or so we can spend more time discussing what happened here with Ukraine. And before we unpack this question, can you just share with everyone a little bit about your background and what you've done? And this way we can get right into your insight as to what it means for America, what it means for Russians, and hopefully what it means for the end of the days of the Putin tyranny over Ukraine in the world.
Yes, I spent 30 years in the military, in the United States Army. I was happy to serve under General Gregg as the director of logistics in the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Army. We had a great time putting together several top programs that are being put in place today. As far as the assault by Russia on Ukraine, it's been quite a logistics nightmare. And because I was a logistics expert in the military, I can understand how the movement of so many vehicles can be a problem for gasoline, food, and other items that are necessary for a long trip. Just think about a trip that you might be making from Washington to New York and not being able to get through because of the traffic. And that's the same problem they're having there. They're running out of gas. And I can imagine of seeing that happen, because when I was in the service, I made sure that we had gas pumps along the line and gas trucks so that we would never run out of gas. This is a serious problem. However, they're going to get more information. They're going to get more time. They're going to get more items that will be necessary for them to move on to keep. And assuming they will, it could be a major disaster.
Sorry, everybody watching on Instagram.
And what do you think, in terms of looking at how this has been structured? This morning, a member of the Ukraine parliament asked the United States and the world, where's the red line? You know, Putin is a psycho. He's not going to stop. He's ignoring the long-term sanctions, and they're asking for help right now. Is this a dynamic that you think NATO will finally find a red line to say enough is enough?
I sure do. I really believe that if they do not get equipment and other items that are necessary for the Ukrainians to continue the fight and to stand up that they have, it is going to be a disaster on both sides. I believe that the fighting of the Ukrainians are such that they're not going to give up. They're going to fight until they're all dead. And that's going to be a disaster for Ukraine. However, there are a lot of people, there are 44 million people in Ukraine. So, and there's only about 1.5 million that have already evacuated. So there are a lot of people still there in the country, and I believe that they will fight to the end.
And as they fight to the end, you know, what does this mean for the United States and the alliances overseas? You know, there was talks about.
Okay, I can answer that, and I forgot that one of the issues that is really important in this particular environment. I would hope that we could get supplies and equipment from the United States and NATO into help the people of Ukraine, because their problems are our problems, because they are a democratic state, and so are we, and so is a lot of members of the NATO in the world, the 30 members of NATO and the world. So I would hope that we could get supplies into them to help them with their fight. Now, what does that mean to us? Well, it's going to be higher food prices. It's going to be higher gas prices. They've already gone up. It's going to be other issues that hopefully the president in his speech last night will cover in his world tour that he's going to be making shortly about selling his programs. And I believe that he can minimize what's going on, but I think there's going to be some serious issues here until the world gets back to some kind of a normal, and then without the Russians attacking our friend.
And that brings the question about Putin. You know, it looks as if Putin is in a corner, and he's creating a whole new conversation about. It's not just about Ukraine; it's about whether or not I stay in power in Russia, and this seems to be change the stakes of the conversation. So, do you think that the move by the international community to seek criminal war charges against Putin does that spell a different type of discussion when it comes to resolving the Ukrainian war that Russia launched unprovoked?
I believe that the United States and NATO is going to make a big, and the European community is going to make a big issue to get Putin under the Hague and get him charged for war. I don't think it's going to be difficult. I think there's going to have to be an investigation. But when it is, he will be tried, and he will, in my view, be convicted. Now, as far as the NATO nations that are involved, it's obvious that Ukraine is not going to be accepted as a NATO country at this time. I don't really think they're going to apply at this time. But
what we need to do is we need to hold that thought. We're going to pick up this conversation when we come back from break and listen to what happened here with Mayor Thomas and Colonel Francois.
World and national news. Here is the latest update from Fox News Radio on 1460 WVOX.
Fox News by Chris Foster. More Russian missiles hit Ukraine.
Ukraine says more than 2,000 civilians have been killed in the first week of Russia's invasion. Video from Ukraine's government appears to show the roof of a government building collapsing as the city of Kharkiv comes under another day of deadly Russian shelling.
Fox's Simon Owen. President Biden's on his way to Wisconsin for a speech promoting his economic agenda, the kind of speech a lot of presidents give the day after their State of the Union address.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell told Fox's America's Newsroom the president's stated goals represented more of the same.
I don't think anything the president said last night is likely to deal effectively with raising inflation.
McConnell said while Biden campaigned as a moderate, as president, he is pushing Senator Bernie Sanders' agenda.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. America's listening to Fox News.
Between the junk you've accumulated and purged and the waste generated from everyday living, you need to rely on your trash removal service to get the job done. You deserve honesty. You expect reliability. You need CRP Sanitation. Since 1979, CRP Sanitation has been the trash removal company homeowners, business owners, and contractors have depended on for honest, reliable service. No dispatchers in different locations who don't know you, no answering services. CRP employees answer the phones, and they know their customers by name. Communication is a key to their success. Communication with you. Other companies offer the world and never deliver. CRP Sanitation offers exactly what you get. Honesty, dependability, professionalism. Doing some remodeling? CRP Sanitation can estimate the weight and needs of a dumpster, and that means not paying more than you need or having to add additional services at additional costs. Not all trash companies are created equal. Family-owned CRP Sanitation. Westchester's finest in sanitation. Call 592-4129. 592-4129.
From the
So-
heart of New York into
Instagram kicked us off the other feed because they said it contained music from,
hot.
something. I gotta look at them on that because that's just kind of ridiculous. It's commercial music. But
Rider, hopping
just stay tuned. We're gonna keep talking with Colonel Francois. This segment was recorded before the show went on because he was on limited time, but we are definitely excited to hear from him and his perspective, his wisdom. If you want to call in and discuss what he has to say, call in after this next segment at 914-636-0110. So here we come back from break.
Dialogues with Catherine Miller. Catherine invites you to join her as she interviews guests on divorce, relationships, the emotional life during and after divorce, and so much more. Catherine's passion is to change how people divorce. That's Divorce Dialogues with Catherine Miller, an attorney specializing in family law at the Miller Law Group in New Rochelle. Listen every other Wednesday at 5 p.m. on 1460 WVOX and WVOX.com.
This is Brett Morash, host of Racing for Heroes Radio on WVOX 1460 AM every Friday from 11 to 11:30. Brought to you by RFH Tactical Mobility, provider of private security and training for the average Joe to
Coming back from break in 1 minute. Just stay tuned. Coming right back, and we're going to hear the rest from Colonel Francois.
With your latest up-to-date forecast, here's Steve Pellettieri's Eye on Weather on 1460 WVOX.
Forecast Westchester County and the vicinity for today. We'll see mostly sunny skies. Our high temperatures will climb to around 50 with breezy conditions. 50% chance of showers mainly through the overnight. Low temperatures will fall back into the middle 30s. Mostly sunny. Temperatures holding steady, upper 30s to around 40 on Thursday. Mostly sunny, cold weather for Friday. Friday's highs into the mid to upper 30s. Mostly cloudy, low to middle 40s as we head towards Saturday. Showers likely on Sunday, especially through the morning. Highs climbing close to 60. 50% chance of showers on Monday near 65. I'm Steve Pellettieri, June reporting 1460 WVOX, a Whitney Global Media Station.
And now back to What Happened Here with Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back. My name is Rick Thomas. You're listening to WVOX, a Whitney Global Media Station. We are here every Wednesday from at 12 noon. You're listening to What Happened Here, where we unpack questions of what happened with the major situation. And today's concern is what happened here with Ukraine and Russia's unprovoked, premeditated war on a free democratic state. Our guest is Colonel Francois, retired from the Army after 30 years, served as Director of Logistics of the Joint Chiefs of Staff for the Army, and he is with us today to talk about his insight, his perspective, his expert perspective of what's going on and what it means in Ukraine and what it means to us here in the United States. Colonel Francois, before we went to break, you were talking about how Putin will face justice at The Hague, and you predicted that he will not only be convicted, but he will eventually be removed from power for his war crimes against the free people. Can you expand on that? And is there anything else people in the United States should know or get involved with going forward?
Yes, they should. There's no question that we need to be more active and intelligent about what's going on over in Ukraine and the free world in Europe. Everything that happens in Europe affects us in the United States. Gas prices, food prices, other issues that are problems for Europeans come over to us, and before we know it, we're involved and heavily involved. Our military is involved. We have over 100,000 military on the shores of Europe at this moment. That's a lot of people when you consider all the logistics tail that has to support those people, and also the civilians that will also deploy to operate a lot of the sophisticated equipment that will be involved in moving Putin and his team out of the areas that they're operating in, assuming they make the charge that they're planning to make. I believe that they will eventually be removed by the people of Russia. Russians are not there, and they are, in fact, demonstrating heavily in Russia. So I believe that eventually Putin will be removed, and he will, and the world will be better off with him gone.
And it seems that Putin is trying to create a perception that Russia backs what he's doing. But the reality is not that. The reality is there's a resistance. And it appears that he has taken extreme steps over the years to eliminate political adversaries so that he cannot be removed. So in this case, the conspiracy is reality, in that Putin has been creating a fake perception, and he's been presenting misinformation. And the reality is that his conspiracy to stay in power is what's really what we're seeing. So he's now trying to create a situation where he's going to bring others down so that he can try and build himself up through force. So this is...
And you're correct on that. You are 100% correct on that. I believe, though, however, the people of Russia can bring down an administration just like the people in the United States. You cannot have you cannot kill off all of the people if they're against what your programs are. You are going to have to support the people that are demonstrating, and apparently some of his oligarchs have also started demonstrating because they don't want to lose all of what they have. And I think the sanctions are really killing them at this point. When the United States put those sanctions in, some of the last sanctions in, along with the NATO nations, it is, in my view, some of the strongest sanctions we've ever had. And I think that will really hurt in the long run.
So what does that mean now, though? Can you explain some of those sanctions, and then what do those sanctions signal to other adversaries like North Korea or even China, who may be looking at Taiwan to make a move?
Well, it's very important that we don't let Putin succeed completely. And the reason I'm saying that is because of what was just mentioned about North Korea and China. I believe they are watching to see what our administration will do and what the NATO nations will agree to. And I think the president has done a marvelous job in bringing together a lot of the NATO nations who are involved in this particular confrontation. I also believe that if we don't get Putin out this time, he will come back again as he has in the past. So I believe that we should get Putin and his people that are involved with this particular administration out of the Russian administration, where it's going to be an issue to all of the people of the world, not just the people of Ukraine. I think that if we don't get him out, and if we don't get the administration that he has backing him out, they will come back, and others will be looking at how we treated this situation, and try to imitate the whole thing in their neck of the woods. So I believe that we should get this going.
Okay. So now, if we get it going, it's my hope that Americans understand that this is for all the marbles, because if Putin does pay, then we're going to have this type of aggression expand, and then it will really get out of control. So I guess my question is energy. The Europeans are concerned about energy. Energy is now a security issue. You already named it with the stoppage of the equipment that Russia was trying to move in. They can't move without energy. So it's important that American energy supplement and replace Russian energy into Europe as a start. But is there any other thoughts on that, or is there any other topic that you want to share with the people of the tri-state area before you sign off, before you come back next time?
Well, I think energy is very important, but you got to remember we do have quite a bit of energy here in the United States. If energy is to be provided to Europe, I believe it's going to come from the people in the Arab nations as opposed to from the United States. The United States is shipping their energy in a different direction. Our energy is going mainly to the Philippines, Japan, South Korea, and those nations that are in that neck of the woods. Now, I do not believe that we will be sending a lot of fuel overseas.
Well, look, Colonel Francois, thank you for joining us to provide perspective on what's happening here in Ukraine and what it means to us in the United States. I look forward to having you on next time, where we can unpack the issue some more and get to other issues, like the history of the military that you're the historian for.
Okay.
But thank you so much for joining us. Listening to What Happened Here on WVOX. Don't change that dial.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, hey, hey. All right, you heard it. You heard it from Colonel Francois. He gave his perspective on what's going on and what happened here. And he is certainly a serious, prominent thinker on all the situations that we're faced with, having been the director of logistics for the Joint Chiefs of Staff for the Army on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And I'm really proud and privileged to have gotten him on, especially at this moment where he is in complete demand from people he worked with over the years, giving insight and thoughts. And also, he was in the midst of preparing to attend and speak at a funeral of one of his comrades. So I can only assure you that I'm very grateful for the time that he shared, the perspective, and I hope that you benefited from hearing him lay out the case for why America needs to get going on getting Putin out. Because if Putin's going to roll on the Ukraine like this, Poland and the other nations that are in Eastern Europe are next, and then there's no stopping others from being inspired and motivated to go after their own expansion plans, like out in the Far East with China and in its ambition to take over Taiwan. So when you look at the situation, is truly tenuous, but this is where we have to give credit to President Biden for uniting NATO in pushing them to move methodically together forward. Today, the United Nations voted unanimously to reprimand Russia, and that's where you have to look and see that the world is coming together to push back against Putin, and that consequence is far more lasting and meaningful than Putin being able to have a small victory. So hopefully the trend continues and we can get this all behind us. Hopefully Ukraine can get more support from the West, particularly America, and pushing NATO forward. But it just seems that the world is, I don't know what red line they're looking for, but they have to find that red line and start moving to make sure that Russia doesn't cross that red line, as they already have in my. But I'm with. I would definitely like to get this going, and if there's a role for me to play in helping, move the needle with, here locally, I'd be more than happy to do whatever it takes to help make sure that we defend our principles and our people overseas, especially those in Ukraine that truly supported, the United States when we needed it most. And that's happening right now. So we're coming back from break. I hope you call in. If you don't, we're going to talk it through. Let's go. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to WVOX at Whitney Global Media Station. My name is Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon. The name of the show is What Happened Here? And today we ask the question, what happened here with Russia's war on Ukraine? And we're here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1, listening to 1460 on your AM dial at WVOX.com. And we had as a special guest earlier in the show, retired, legendary, iconic in the military, Colonel Frank Francois. He was the director of logistics for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, representing the Army. He was one of 7 African Americans selected following the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King to rise to a command post in the Pentagon and become the preeminent expert on transportation and logistics for the United States military. He helped develop many different systems and infrastructures within the Pentagon and the defense industry, Defense Department. And I'm so happy to have had him on to discuss the situation with Ukraine. We expect to have him back. I'll confirm with him over the coming days if he's going to come back next week and unpack more issues and take calls from callers that would like to, hear his perspective from a high level. But nonetheless, we do have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to What Happened Here. You're on live. Doing well. Thank you for calling in. Colonel. He almost beat. Yeah, he almost beat me up. Yeah, no, he almost beat me up when I said that earlier by accident. He was like, "Boy."
You raised the issue of energy.
Yes.
You mentioned the United States with energy, with most of our gasoline goes to Latin America, and goes to Mexico, Canada, China, and India. So one part of it is that we might take the whole house for, and I don't know if you were alluding to it, is that unfortunately during the State of the Union address, I believe the president missed an opportunity to address that threat and say, look, despite everything about we joined in with you guys and with they said that the major bank that handles the transactions for the oil and gas should be ready. And at the end of that, calm down, has not been sanctioned. And neither has their energy industry. And if Biden had said something like, you know what, I'm going to reverse my policy on my shutdown of American oil and natural gas. We have hundreds of years of reserve. We will open the business and fully to learn. So you can how yourself from the Russian bear and restrain the hold that has on human energy. But he missed that opportunity, which is including us here in America, as you know. But now energy is an exporting country, which were a few years ago. And just for and I don't know if that ties in, but there's a freaking war going on right here in our backyard on the energy in New York. And when war is through, because our Democratic friends and their friends in the media trying to find a way to blame Con Edison for the national Con Edison. It's a lot of our Democratic friends in cause. Putting down Indian Point, stopping the drilling out in the southern tip, not permitting the new gas pipe to go across into the Westchester area. And, it's a nice little political war, because I know that there are times who were all behind all this stuff, and there's something about the Biden administration's being down on oil and gas. And said, look, they don't want all that stuff, because you never know, as blue as New York is, it's going to be hard for Francois and our Democrats down ballot to stand up and say, yeah, I was all with that. Let's blame Con Ed for the double and triple bill.
And
produce
that's part of the reason why we have shows like this and platforms like WVOX to get into the issues and inform people that a lot of these policies and these environmental policies really go the other way on the environment, and they clobber our wallets without any rhyme or reason. And it is really these politicians need to own up to their not only mistakes but the fraud that they committed on all of us when they made these claims. But they won't. But that's why we as voters, we as people have an opportunity to vote in these elections, and hopefully more and more people look at the truth as they get stunned and shocked by their electric bills. Because you're right, Con Ed didn't do it; the politicians did when they pulled the plug on all of our energy, capabilities. And with respect to with respect to producing more energy for Europe, I think that's a question that we'll raise to Colonel Francois. We'll definitely put it to him when he comes back on. I think that is a measure that's being examined now, but it may come from the Arab nations first, which they are closer, which is one of the things. But you're right. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm well, we're gonna keep that fight up, and we're gonna keep asking that question. And I can tell you right now, we're gonna get the colonel to talk it through. But I'm with you 1,000% on making sure that America's energy security and independence gets strengthened. Thanks for calling in. We have another caller on the line. Caller. Good day, caller. You're on the line live with Mayor Thomas on what happened here, discussing the Ukraine war, and our guest who had to go to another obligation, Colonel Francois, but he promised to be back. I thank you for calling in and to unpack the issues.
Yeah. Bringing on the colonel.
Thank you.
He did a great job explaining everything. And I just think that the United States should put more pressure on Russia and come together with NATO and other forces to put pressure on. Because what's happening during this time is forcing the price of barrel oil to go higher and higher and costing us Americans more gas prices at the fuel pumps. So I'm just totally frustrated that the United States didn't do more to take preemptive action and also put pressure on OPEC and the Saudis to pump more oil for the European countries.
Well, that's one part of it, and I'm with Vince, the prior caller, said America should be doing more in terms of exporting our oil and pumping our oil and gas out as well. So there definitely needs to be a lot more pressure on that. But I do believe now that it's a week into the conflict, maybe we may see some more action on that in the next coming days. But with respect to the impact though on prices and energy and the uncertainty, I definitely think we're in for a wild ride as volatility will pick up because of this conflict that seems to be growing.
Yes, and we need to protect ourselves in the future from this type of situation. Because we are a global economy, any component, any country or like Russia being pulled out from the link of the chain has impact global worldwide.
And I can only assure you that as we continue to look at this, the one thing we will all agree on is that Putin got to go. And if Putin is going to press the button on innocent women and children in Ukraine and claim that he's doing it to save them from a threat that's non-existent. I mean, these people were just living their lives last week, and then all of a sudden, here comes a missile with love from Russia. It's like the logic doesn't make any sense. So what I can assure you is that as the world continues to take action today, the United Nations voted 141-5. I wonder who made up those 5 countries that voted to not sanction and reprimand Russia, because those 5 countries have sent a strong signal that they may want to do exactly what Russia is doing. And if that's the case, the world better ready up to get ready to rock and roll and get this thing going, as the Colonel said. Thank you for calling, caller. Thank you for everybody listening. Stay tuned. Next week, we're going to try and have Colonel back to take your questions live on air. You've been listening to What Happened Here on WVOX, a Whitney Global Media Station. I'm Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon, signing off. See you next week to talk about what happened here.